So when you saw your dad in the industry, you would go with him, right? He was an editor, or he worked.
Yeah, I never really actually understood exactly what his job was. He was an editor. Um, he did like lots of stuff, like when they did Laserdiscs, back there, like the Laserdisc company, and I watched them go through so many transitions because they like Laserdisc was before DVD. It was around way before DVD, and I would watch them do all the they did commentaries, so I met I hung out with like John Wayne's kids and like all these people since I was a little kid. I was hanging out with I forget her name, Lita Gray, Charlie Chaplin's wife, or one of his ex-wives. So I got a great kind of film history lesson from the time I was really young. That's what he would do. He would just, he'd bring in a lot of these kind of people and interview them, or put in like extras for like interviews with all these people. Basically all the extra features for Laserdisc, and then that transitioned into DVD. But I know throughout that he did a lot of editing as well. I think he edited a couple features, and I know he edited trailers and stuff like that. So he started bringing me in. I just remember he first showed me how to edit when I was 5 by doing jump cuts to make somebody disappear. So that's when it first caught my attention. Like he showed me how to disappear from a jump cut, like somebody's walking, just cut it to nobody's there. And as a 5-year-old, I was like, what, and then when I was 7, I started editing from like VHS to VHS player. I would hook it up and do it at home. But then when I was 9 or 10, he started bringing me into Image. When he started working at Image, he started bringing me there because he was working at Hollywood Stars or something like that for a TV show before that. So there I would just hang out, but then I guess he felt I was old enough at 9 or 10 that he started showing me how to actually edit on the pro equipment they had. Where he did all these kind of like tape to tape. It was really, editing on film I'm sure was even harder, but this was definitely harder than all the Adobe and Final Cut stuff. I mean, you really had to take your time doing all this stuff. And that's how I learned to edit for 10 years. I was editing there until 2000 when I started then learning how to do it on Premiere at home, So from like 1990 to 2000, I think I was editing all my stuff at Image, basically. On off hours. I'd make him go in on the weekend because I couldn't do it while he was working, so he'd have to like bring me in on the weekends. So I was just always making him go he probably lived at work during those 10 years because I would make him go on the weekends so I could edit, and he would just hang out and do something else or catch up on work.
And what was it like to be around that culture, just of people that were working on films, passionate about them? Do you see that same mindset today, or it's just a different world? It seems like it's a different quality of movies. Back then there was more story-based. That's just my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, as a kid I'm not really sure because I would talk to a lot of people there, but I usually, if I wasn't, if I was editing, I was by myself or with him. And then if I was there, like after school or something, I'd just go in one of the rooms. They would actually have me QC stuff. Like, so my first experience, I think, was Enter the Dragon. It was some Bruce Lee movie. And so I wrote down literally every single scratch mark in the, which was constant, because I didn't realize that I was checking for like digital, hiccups. I was looking at all the scratch marks from the actual film and marking every single time code of all that. But anyways, that's stuff I would do. Is I would like kind of, again, be like a loner off. It's not like I had a good understanding of, I guess, how people were with it. I mean, everybody was friendly to me, but it's like, I don't know, I've always been a loner, so I just watched how it changed from the Laserdisc to the DVD, and then they spent, the last couple of years he was there, they just started laying people off little by little, and finally he was the last group of people to go, before they just finally had sold out to somebody else, because they're still around, but it's not the same company really. And they're doing all these big movies actually, but or big star kind of driven movies, but I think it's actually all done like out, they don't do it in-house anymore. They just have their company that acquires it, and everybody else does all the, because it was a huge company. They had a couple hundred people or maybe several hundred people working there. So I've watched all the transitioning of that. I had more experience, I guess, watching that, the transition of this company, because I spent 20 years kind of, yeah, I have 20 years of knowledge of, I guess, of how Image worked, going from major Laserdisc to not so major DVD to trying to build back up to major theatrical, but then tiny company. I kind of watched all that happen. So I kind of got I guess, yeah, I mean, I never really thought about that, but I got a good knowledge of that more than, I guess, the kind of people. More like I got a understanding of how a certain company went through 2 decades, I guess.